Cassie was testifying. So let me tell you guys everything that you didn't see or may have not heard, because it's a lot. I will say the most damning part of her testimony for me is when she describes a freak off where Diddy and another man in escort are standing on top of her while she is laying on the floor high off of and they are urinating on her face to the point where she is on their face. And to further give context, on the right-hand side of the court, seated, is her husband, Alex Fine.
No videos were shown today. Instead, jurors were handed personal screens so that they could privately see images taken from what Cassie called freak-off videos. Cassie had a binder on the stand with her, and she was going through images identifying people in them. Cassie was listing the names of the male escorts, and in some of the images, she said it was herself with baby oil on her.
So when it comes to Diddy, why do you think that you are so heavily involved in everything? Like everything that comes out about him, like you said, it's automatically, well, what you think? Well, how you feel? What you got to say?
Because... Hold on tight, because everything we thought we knew about the Diddy case just did a complete 180. After weeks of cryptic silence and wild speculation, the federal prosecutors have finally revealed their secret weapon, and it's none other than Gina Huynh. Yes, that Gina. And this isn't just a legal bombshell, it's personal. With her tangled history with Diddy and her very public clashes with Young Miami, this twist feels less like justice and more like payback served cold. It's got all the makings of poetic retribution, revenge, karma, and possibly the final blow to Diddy's already crumbling image. Meanwhile, Young Miami seems to be feeling the heat. Her nerves are showing, and honestly, who could blame her? There's a lot happening behind the scenes, and it's unfolding fast. So go ahead, grab your snacks, because this courtroom saga just turned into primetime drama. And remember, in this game, act reckless, and you just might catch the consequences.
Defense acknowledged that the videos of alleged freak-offs will be shown, but that those videos, they said, didn't come from the government's investigation so much as it came directly from Cassie's phone. But they were essentially trying to raise doubt about why did she hold on to these videos, and again, making this argument that this case is about love and infidelity and money. But the prosecution is saying, no, you will hear from witnesses that will tell you that they were kicked, they were punched, they were coerced to performing sex. So this is only the beginning.
Before we dive into the bombshell that is Gina Huynh stepping into the spotlight as the prosecution's star witness, and why that has Young Miami reportedly unraveling, let's rewind and look at what shook the courtroom on day one of this already historic trial. Because from what insiders are saying, the opening testimonies didn't just make waves, they struck nerves. The air inside that Manhattan courtroom is heavy, and if early accounts are any indication, Diddy may be staring down real prison time. This isn't your average celebrity scandal. It's shaping up to be one of the most high-stakes federal trials. In recent memory, Sean Combs' federal trafficking case kicked off under maximum security, with reporters struggling to get even fragments of what's unfolding behind those locked courtroom doors. The witness list is under tight wraps, and each name that emerges sends shockwaves through the public. The first major reveal? Cassie Ventura. On May 13, 2025, Cassie, yes, the singer and Diddy's former longtime partner, took the stand. And just her presence alone made a powerful statement. She walked into that courtroom visibly pregnant, her belly round and prominent, projecting both vulnerability and unshakable strength. It was more than a personal moment. It was symbolic. A declaration that she had survived and was standing tall, literally, carrying new life amid the darkest chapter of her past. Once sworn in, Cassie began to tell a story that gripped everyone in the room. Her testimony was harrowing. She described a life lived under relentless control, years marked by alleged emotional manipulation, outbursts of violence, and disturbing freak-offs, in which she claimed she was coerced into explicit acts, while Diddy watched. The courtroom was hushed as she spoke. You could feel the gravity of her words. Cassie and Combs were together for over a decade, from 2007 to 2018. After their breakup, she had hinted at the turmoil she endured. But this was the first time she laid it bare in front of a jury. She painted a picture of a man who, she alleges, used his influence and status as weapons, controlling her career, tracking her movements, destroying property in fits of rage, and using her trauma as leverage. And then came the footage. Yes, That 2016 hotel surveillance video, previously leaked by CNN, was played in court. But sources say the prosecution also presented new, even more distressing footage. Cassie reportedly broke down on the stand as it played, and the courtroom watched in stunned silence. The defense tried to downplay it all, labeling the behavior as inhumane but not criminal. But it's hard to unsee a man assaulting a woman he once called his partner. That kind of footage sticks. And it speaks volumes, not just to the public, but to the jury. So if day one set the tone, consider this your sign that this trial isn't just about celebrity gossip. It's a reckoning. And Diddy's legal team? They've got an uphill battle ahead.
On the right-hand side of the court, seated, is her husband, Alex Fine. On the left-hand side, Diddy's 6 out of 7 kids are sitting in the courtroom, as Cassie is describing, having weekly freak-offs for years. That would last 2, 3, one lasted up to 4 days. She talked about damaging hotel rooms so bad in one instance that they had to pay such a hefty fee because the hotel told them that they needed to completely redecorate the room after a freak-off.
Inside that courtroom, the atmosphere has reportedly grown so emotionally charged, jurors are being routinely reminded to keep their composure and their impartiality. But with each passing testimony and every piece of graphic footage, the tension only deepens. The space is thick with the weight of trauma being laid bare, and no one in the room is walking away untouched. When prosecutors officially named Cassie as their key witness, they didn't hold back. They came in forcefully, zeroing in on the disturbing allegations of physical abuse and psychological coercion. But they made one thing heartbreakingly clear. Cassie's story isn't an isolated one. According to them, she's just one voice in a much larger chorus. The prosecution laid out a chilling pattern of behavior, claiming that multiple individuals, besides Cassie, suffered similar fates. Punches thrown, kicks delivered, autonomy stripped away. The acts, they argued, weren't random or occasional. They were methodical, repeated, systemic. And now, those patterns are being put under a national microscope.
Going through images, identifying people in them. Cassie was listing the names of the male escorts, and in some of the images, she said it was herself with baby oil on her, and reporters say that one female juror rested her hand over her chest. Also say that a male juror quickly averted his eyes, and another wrote notes while clearly shaken. Prosecutor Emily Johnson then shifted the focus to when this began.
Meanwhile, the defense is doing everything it can to reshape the narrative. Instead of trafficking, they argue this case is really about a complicated love story, one tangled in betrayal, jealousy, and money. They've tried to reframe the allegations as a messy breakup, not a federal crime. In a bold move, they even questioned Cass.
Those who like to stupidly comment, well, why didn't she leave? She said she didn't have the resources and she didn't feel safe to do so. In her own words, I understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats that he made prior to that.
All right, let's keep it moving because this trial is unfolding at lightning speed. And the pressure in that Manhattan courtroom is near unbearable. Diddy's legal team is doing everything in their power to slam the brakes on this case, but the testimonies are piling up, and they're painting a picture that's hard to scrub clean. As more witnesses line up to speak, it's clear that this is just the beginning, and the tide is turning fast. Now here's where it gets even more intense. Whispers around the courtroom hint that prosecutors have been keeping their next key witness under wraps, and the name that's surfacing? Gina Huynh. Yep, that Gina. And if what insiders are saying is even halfway true, her testimony could blow this case wide open. Gina isn't just another chapter in Diddy's long and chaotic romantic history. She's a whole volume. Rumor has it their connection dates back to the early 2010s, deep in the party-fueled days of Diddy's empire. While many came and went, Gina stayed. By 2015, she was allegedly official, even if unofficially erased from public view. While he flaunted other romances, Gina was in the background, often overlooked, but always there. She wasn't just around, she was flying private, dripping in designer, living the luxe life behind closed doors. Despite being pushed to the sidelines, Gina stuck around for years, quietly navigating her place in Diddy's world. Until, that is, May 2022, when she dropped a bomb on social media, a photo of Diddy kissing her cheek. It was subtle but seismic, especially considering his public single but dating thing with Young Miami. The internet exploded. Gina's post lit the fuse, and Young Miami wasn't having it. What followed was a digital war between the two: tweets, subs, deleted posts, and all-out shade on full display. And just when the drama couldn't get any more tangled, news broke in December 2022 that Diddy had fathered a child with yet another woman. Gina wasted no time mocking Miami online, escalating the feud with brutal commentary that turned personal, real fast. Still, Diddy kept them both around, along with Dana Tran, the mother of that new baby, and the circus just kept going. But now, Gina may be stepping out of the shadows and into the courtroom as a star witness. And that, friends, could change everything. Why? Because Gina wasn't just a girlfriend. She was allegedly a quiet observer with a front row seat to Diddy's personal and professional life for years. If Cassie's testimony shook the courtroom, Gina's could detonate it. She may have witnessed the transitions, the secrets, and the patterns. Some insiders even say she was physically harmed by Diddy and forced to terminate pregnancies, claims that, if confirmed under oath, would devastate his defense. Word is, Gina kept receipts. Not just spicy texts or scandalous pics, but deeper knowledge. Who was at those infamous parties? Who got paid to stay silent? What really went down behind closed doors? And perhaps even what Young Miami did or didn't know. But here's where things twist again. After initially agreeing to testify under her real name, the woman believed to be Gina, referred to as Victim 3, may now be backing out. Just days after signaling her intent to appear, she's gone silent and is no longer responding to the court. Whether that's fear, strategy, or something else entirely, it could seriously sway how the case plays out. Because let's be real, if Gina does testify, Diddy's empire could crumble under the weight of her words. And Young Miami, her brand, her image, her whole public persona could take a serious hit. The perks, the flexes, the glamorous proximity to power, it might all collapse in real time. This isn't just tabloid fodder, it's a cultural moment. We're witnessing a reckoning, not just in one man's career, but in how influence, silence, and loyalty play out in public and private spaces. Now, whether Gina is gearing up to expose the truth or pulling back for good is still up in the air. But one thing's for sure, this is no longer about clout or petty beef. It's about power, accountability, and the stories that are finally being heard. So what do you think? Is Gina about to become the prosecution's ace card, or is she playing her own game behind the scenes? Will Young Miami stick around or make a quiet exit before things hit the fan? Either way, buckle up. Because this trial, it's not just messy, it's history in the making. And we're not even close to the final chapter. Stay tuned.